Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about this video. I wanted to show it yesterday, but it ran long yesterday with different things we were talking about. So Elon Musk shared this video that's basically a plot for Democrats to impose one-party rule through open borders. And I saw some people sharing it around like, I don't know how to, debunk this or whatever. Like, it seems like this is clearly the plan that's going on. So I wanted to show it to you guys. Hopefully I don't get dinged for copyright or something on YouTube, but we're going to go ahead and play it anyway. So we'll be talking about the open border immigration crisis and the effects that it can have. Also, I saw this video of this wild squatter story in New York, and I just got it. It's wild to me how it can be their property and then someone just move in and it hasn't even been 30 days and they're just like, nope, this is my property, I'm not leaving. And the person who owns the property got arrested. So it's funny in a bad way, just because how unbelievable the world is, particularly these blue cities, I suppose. And I don't know why you'd ever want to live there. No flipping idea why on God's green earth you'd ever want to be in New York, whether for situations like that or dealing with and doing business in New York because of situations like what Trump has to go through with him having to pay like almost half a billion dollars with this case with Letitia James coming against him in civil court for the assets on his buildings. It's just really really wild. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website and stuff, so you guys can support. I appreciate you for watching on Facebook. You guys can send stars. For watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. And if you're watching back later, you guys can also do super thanks. So I appreciate you. Please check out different merch that we also have on the website, like this cool "I am not the victim you're looking for" t-shirt. And I also have, other t-shirts as well, and mugs and so on. So go ahead and check out the merch. And you guys can also check out my different books that I have available on the website as well. Well, if you go to the merchandise page, there's a banner taking my book website, but I have 17 published books you guys can check out on Amazon. I encourage you guys to do so. I did go to the movies last night, as I did a post on it, to go see the American Society of Magical Negroes. So I recorded a review before talking to you guys live. I recorded a review of it, and so I'm going to edit it and post that. And so I hope it's not too long, but I talked about it for a while, and it has some spoilers in there. Reason being, I didn't know how to talk about it the way that I wanted to talk about it without telling details of the plot. I watched Nerdrotic's review of it after I got home. He trashed it as like the worst movie of the year, worse than Madam Web. Now, I haven't seen Madam Web, but from what I've seen of Madam Web, there's just no way that this film is worse than that. Overall, I did enjoy it, but people are saying it's like the worst, like I said, worst movie of the year, that it's so racist and stuff. I mean, were there racial jokes and comments? Yeah, sure. But things that are taboo can still be funny. I'm sorry. Like David Allen Greer said some things that were funny. Like if you go into hate watch it, you're gonna find the things that you want to hate about it. Were there things that, as a right wing commentator or just like a normal person who knows data, that I could go in and just like start fact checking their worldview and say, oh, they're so afraid of these police shootings and like statistically this, and just break it down and just demolish the movie like on a fact base level. You can do that, absolutely. Um, but I think there are some, I don't know, there's a narrative in the film that I think is kind of worth discussing. That's why I wanted to see it. And but it's funny because people on the right are like, it's a horrible, terrible film. It's tearing the country apart. We don't need things like that. Blah blah blah. And then there's people who on the left who are upset because it's not woke enough, because they wanted it to go harder, or some of the complaints were pretty silly to me. If I could say one thing about the film, if you so their powers are collective. The purpose of the society, the American Negro is the magical Negro is a movie trope. They're like the special kind of black person that helps the white person in the film. Like the Green Mile, for example, has a literal magic Negro in there. The black guy in The Shining, so they're not always magic, but sometimes they are literally magic. So the plot of the movie is there's a society that helps to get rid of white discomfort, because when white people are upset or something, they become more dangerous, and they can be very dangerous to black people. Actually, they're the most dangerous animal in the world, according to the film. And so they decide to recruit Aaron to be part of this society and stuff. So if you the magic is collective, so everyone basically has to be on one accord about their mission. And if someone breaks the rules, basically, then their magic is dampened. And so one person ends up breaking the rules, so they exile her. And if you are exiled, they say that's the worst thing you could happen, because then you have to live like an average black person. And they're just like, it's so dangerous out there, so dangerous out there. And a person left a review about the film complaining about this part of the movie, or this aspect of the movie, because they're like, just because you make white people feel better and feel comfortable doesn't mean that you're any less likely to die. And I'm just like, well, they have magical powers, so I would assume they're still less likely to die. Like, like they just hated the premise of it so much, like the premise of the society. And it's just funny how you can't please anyone. Like, it's like this. The audience for this film was like, to find them, you have to blindfold yourself and aim a gun into like a thimble, you know. So I'm not surprised it's not making money, because I don't know who's supposed to speak to, because if they really want to have a nuanced conversation about race or whatever, it's not aggressive enough for the people that they were probably hoping would see the film. So the critics don't like it. The critics, I think the Rotten Tomato score is like 34%, and the audience score is is 65, but it's not making a lot of money. It's not making a lot of money, and it won't. It won't. But I thought I wanted to see it because I was interested in the commentary. I was very interested in how people were reacting to it, and I thought it was a conversation kind of worth having. So anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into it with you guys right now, because I did record that long video. So I'm going to edit that, and you guys can watch that when I post it. But I had a fun night with my family at the movies. Anyway, let's jump into this video that Elon Musk shared. I think it was yesterday. And he didn't make it, but he shared it. The person who did it, you guys should be able to see like the watermark or whatever on there. But some other folks were sharing it around. Like, I don't see how this isn't the case with immigration in the plot to kind of make a one-party rule. And I think I agree with everything, but I'm going to watch it with you guys and let you know if I disagree with anything.
The Democrat open borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1. Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world, enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far. 2. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen, with free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones, ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape. Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves. Slander critics as racist. 4. ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. 5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power. 6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements, making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud. 7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges, enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party. 8. Win elections. 9. Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved. The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
So I kind of think they nailed it there. I mean, those things are pretty much going on. So we have I don't know how many people coming in. We know over the past couple of years it's like at least 6 million, but it's got to be more than that. Um that's no small number. And I've seen clips of Democrats talking about how they need the citizens for the purpose of like achieving electoral power. So if these blue states where sensible people have left because they're taxing too much or whatever, their stuff is too woke. Like people have left California, people have left New York, people have left Michigan, and Florida gained population and etc. So they've lost electoral power. They're losing electoral power, and other people are gaining electoral power. Sorry, I can't talk. They want it back. These blue areas want it back. So I and for as far as citizenship and stuff, we should only be counting citizens, at least for the purpose of the electoral college and stuff. If they're just citizens, not just people who are there. So it's a mess. It really is a mess. We do have all the sanctuary cities and stuff. They, I would assume, want fealty to the Democrat Party, and even if they don't achieve fealty, or because you might have some Republicans who still want to fight for it and feel like, oh gosh, well we're going to upset too many people if we don't do something like amnesty, and we can't just let that be the thing that the Democrats do, so we have to promise amnesty too, so it's going to make in the end, ultimately a stronger Democrat Party and one party control, but it's going to make the feckless, weak Republicans try to, basically capitulate to the Democrats and their terrible plot as well. So, as far as they don't want signature verification, or at least as strong as it ought to be, with some of these mail-in ballot stuff. Do you guys remember, like, not too long ago, they said that like Georgia's election laws were, I mentioned this yesterday, Jim Crow Joe. I mean, it's like that's what people call Jim Crow Joe. They're saying it's Jim Crow 2.0. And Joe Biden said it makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. And the sort of laws that they had were just kind of normal. Now, by the way, everybody thinks that you should have like voter ID. Like minorities believe that people should show IDs when they vote. It's not controversial. People have IDs. People need IDs when they go get different kind of benefits. So why wouldn't people have IDs or be able to show them when they vote? By the way, when you go to a Republican convention or a Democrat convention and you get your credentials, do you know what you have to show people? You have to show them your ID. Some people think that it's so racist or whatever for Republicans to harp on about showing their ID. I've worked at Republican conventions taking people's, credentials or getting their information so they can have their credentials. We're like, you have to show us your ID. We're very, defensive about it. Like, you need to show us your ID if you want these credentials. And so people are like, oh, I left in my car. Just like, go to your car and get your ID though. Go back to your hotel room and get your ID. I need to see your ID if you want your badge. So and it's not like and it was sometimes like people that someone else can vouch for, they know it's like they're supposed to have their ID. Like so it's to me it can't even seem like not even always a security thing, which is kind of like the principle of the matter. Like you're supposed to have your ID to get this stuff. So mail-in ballots is really a good way for Democrats to gain control, uh not just because of voter fraud or anything like that. Not even for that. But because it doesn't you don't need to do the voter fraud to win and get the advantage with mail-in ballots. That's not even the problem. The issue is that it has such a low threshold for people to participate in the process. And you're like, that sounds kind of terrible for you to say. Listen, um, if you are normally a low informed voter and what you know is like maybe an ad that came up on your phone or a TikTok that somebody sent you or something that you saw on the news, not even the news, maybe like a local kind of channel, and you have a very limited kind of opinion on the news, or maybe you're just going to go vote Democrat because your friends are going to do that anyway. um, Maybe you don't care about politics that much enough to actually go and research the candidates and the issues all that much, but and you wouldn't normally vote, but you don't got to stand in a line. You just get a ballot sent to your house and you mail it back. Now Republicans have to chase those ballots, they have to chase those eyeballs, they have to knock on those doors, and they have to talk to those people. That's just something that they have to do. But especially if more people keep pushing the ballots, but it does put an advantage in the hands of the Democrats, especially in these major um cities and stuff where they'll have these different media markets um that people like invest a lot of money and stuff into, that's normally maybe in putting Democrat messages out there and so on. So um when Democrats are pushed to basically get rid of the electoral college or to have there was gosh, I can't remember, there was a particular pack, and there were some Republicans on the pack as well that were trying to, but it was like George Soros, his kids or something that originated it or run it or something, where they are trying to get states to basically get rid of the electoral college or do it in a way that you don't even need an amendment. You just make it so that your legislature basically pledges to have your votes go to whoever wins the popular vote. And the reason they're claiming that they want to do that is because they don't want the race to be determined by a couple of swing states where people go and they visit and all the money is getting spent in like Arizona or I don't know. In this case, probably Michigan or whatever. It used to be Florida. Florida's pretty red right now. But you invest the money in these swing states instead of like having to fight for every vote. Now, I thought that sort of reasoning is kind of revealing to the motivation, because they're like, oh, they don't want to invest the money. People have to be invested in these swing votes states, which, by the way, the reason why they invest in the swing votes is because those votes could go either way, where like California is pretty much going to go blue regardless of what you do. But if you have to go by each vote at a time, then that makes it so that these major cities get to decide who's going to be the president. And instead of having to invest in maybe these swing states, that maybe have a like it's a Midwestern state, maybe it's a swing state, but it's not as an expensive media market as maybe like New York or something, right? You have to invest in those major cities. And so to me, it just sounded like they want more money spent on elections in these very, very expensive areas, because then you have to pay more consultants and you have to pay for more ads and you have to just get more money into politics, which puts more money in the pockets of people who are involved in that. So why wouldn't political consultants want to get rid of the Electoral College if they don't care about the outcome of the election, but rather the financial windfall that you can get by actually doing elections. I hope I explained that well enough. So anyway, people know that people like George Soros, his kids or whatever, they know that if it's up to basically these large cities and stuff, focusing on those areas and pumping out a lot of like votes there, and that could change the outcome of the election, then that would basically make the Democrats pretty unstoppable until, or unless rather, because I don't know if Republicans will be able to do it, they can come up with some kind of plan to spread their message and be competitive with the Democrats. So the mail-in stuff, again, has the reason why it is so dangerous. I'm not saying that people wouldn't be inclined to cheat, but the more important thing is that people who maybe aren't normally that invested to vote can just be persuaded into just dropping their stuff in a mailbox, or something just coming to their house that's sent to them. Or maybe there's someone in the house who works for the UAW who's just filling out all the ballots for everybody and sending them in. I know somebody, their husband there with the UAW, they used to just, she used to, the husband or whatever would just fill that out, and they'd fill it out all for the Democrat stuff. And then someone convinced him, like, why don't you guys just start, like, take a test to see where you fall ideologically. And they found out that everybody was basically Republican and not Democrat. And there was one person in the house who wouldn't take the test because it was like, nah, I said all y'all would support Trump, so I don't want to take it. So she wouldn't take the test because she didn't want it. But the person who wouldn't take the test is kind of more liberal, so probably maybe they wouldn't have landed on Trump. But if someone else could just fill that out for you, as opposed to you going to the ballot and you thinking about it and filling it out yourself, or taking the time to have to do that and feeling that it's really your civic duty. If you really feel it's your civic duty, maybe you've looked at the issues a little bit more. Republicans are going to have to find a way to compete with that for those eyeballs, for that voter that maybe doesn't think too much about it. Because a lot of these young voters, I think Gen Z, they say, is more conservative than other generations that have come up before them, but it's still a lot of left-wing kids. A lot of left-wing kids being influenced by stuff like TikTok. So Democrats dominating the culture. I mean, it's not just the news, it's also entertainment, social media. Like, we have Twitter, I guess, on the right. Well, there's plenty of people on the left who can have their stuff go far and do well on Twitter. But that's the only, like, kind of free platform where people feel kind of confident their stuff will get out. There's some conservatives that do well on TikTok, but having your account, like, taken down was like a badge of honor for conservatives, because they knew, like, if you said something controversial, you're probably going to lose your account. And I've been in danger. I've gotten strikes and have been in danger of, like, losing my accounts and mass reporting other stuff like that too. And I've definitely had videos taken down that shouldn't have been taken down, but hey, you said something against the alphabet mafia or whatever, so people were upset. So it's hard for conservatives to compete. My YouTube, I guess my YouTube and my Facebook page aren't what they kind of used to be. I'm getting suppressed. My TikTok page is often suppressed. I saw a report on Fox News. There's a right-wing group that's alleging that Google has been messing with the search results for years with the elections, and uplifting, like, good stories about, like, Clinton and other folks, and depressing bad stories, but they don't do that for the other side. And so there are ways that they manipulate the search patterns and stuff. So it's very hard for people on the right to compete and get real information out there. If we could just think of obvious example would be the Hunter Biden laptop situation. And that was pre-Elon Musk owning Twitter, but that was an instance where social medias were instructed or rather pressured or given the impression that there was something coming out that they needed to suppress and hide. And if you were sharing the story of the Hunter Biden laptop from, like, the New York Post, they would stop that from even going out and being shared in not just like your main page, but also like if you were trying to send it through like their messenger platform. So it's not just that Republicans sometimes they don't have the right message with trying to compete. They're suppressed in how they compete. So again, if they can get the mail and stuff, it's better for the Democrats right now. It just is. It just is. So they have to find a way around that, and if they don't find a way around that, then they're going to be closer to the one party rule than what you think, regardless of like all the border folks, people coming in flooding the border. Now, as far as all these folks from all these different countries coming in and just having like a lifelong loyalty to the Democrat Party, well, there's definitely a lot of criminals coming in. So I don't know, maybe they'll vote blue, but but if you have people who are have traditional values, they might not vote blue forever, especially it depends how crazy they are and what sort of things that they're pushing, because we are seeing a shift, at least right now in the Hispanic vote, where people are open to voting for Trump. But if you look at places like, people were more open to it last time he ran. But if you look at stuff like DeSantis's reelection, like he was just killing in all kinds of places, and people were mad when they looked at the data and they saw that Hispanics were voting for Trump. For DeSantis and stuff. So it's not necessarily the end of the world. And it doesn't mean that it's impossible to persuade these people coming into voting red. It's not impossible. But if Democrats get certain things passed and done very quickly, especially if they can get enough votes to change the quarter, maybe even pack it, we're going to be in big trouble for a long time until you have what generations pass and then happen to get the right Republican in office so they can appoint the right justices at the right moment. We shouldn't feel like everything is hinging upon like the person that you pick at the Supreme Court level, because so the justices should just be going by what is right in the law. But there's so many activists that you're like, you could easily lose your free speech and other sort of rights that you have if the wrong case goes up against the wrong justice. And it's sad that that's the way that it is. But that's just the way that it is. Someone said, listen to Elon. It doesn't matter if they don't get to vote this time. It matters where the immigrants live. Population itself gets more House seats. Yes, it's true. That we talked about that in the video, and that I showed Elon's video. This person just popped in. It's going to make a big difference. I think that's the biggest kind of thing. And again, I've seen Democrats basically say that they need these people for the votes. And by the way, they're giving like city jobs to these people too. There was a report in New York that they were going to start lowering the standards so these people could get like city jobs. And people were upset in the comments. So like on Twitter and TikTok, where I saw like the stories, and they're just like, I can't get a good job. Like, and I have like decent like resumes and stuff, but it's hard for me to get a job. And y'all want to lower standards of how well people can speak English and all kinds of different stuff to get them working for the city and then pay them with my tax dollars. So, it's pretty crazy. So they are issuing benefits to other people who shouldn't be here in the first place. And you can say, well, no, they're asylum seekers. We need to bring back Remain in Mexico, and people need to wait until their stuff is heard. We don't need people flooding in, and all these people do not have legitimate asylum claims. They don't. I'm not stupid. You're not stupid either. They do not have legitimate asylum claims, especially a lot of these criminals and stuff coming in. I saw a report last night on Fox News. They were talking about Chile and people who come over. Apparently they don't need visas or something like that to come over. So there's not a big background check that they do. So there's a ton of like criminals from that country, and they'll be in different gangs, and they will hit up different houses and just steal stuff. And so I guess it's a big concern in California and other places. I wonder um if that's the same kind of group that's been attacking and stealing stuff from in Oakland County in Michigan, because I heard some time ago about different gangs of people from foreign countries coming in and robbing different places, and they're kind of technologically advanced, so they're like blocking the Wi-Fi and other things that are with the Ring cameras and stealing stuff. So it's crazy. I've seen so many people say things like, "Oh, well, how is illegal immigration? How's it really affecting you?" It one is the principle of the matter, but two, um, where are all these people going? Where are they living? It's going to have like the electoral college, all that kind of stuff for the population. That is going to have a big effect on there. What kind of drain is it on the resources for for your city, your state, the nation as a whole? There are dangerous people coming in to the country. That's just a fact. I'm not saying everyone who's coming in across the border, flooding in, are dangerous criminals who are dismembering people. And yeah, there's actually someone who was like part of a gang where she dismembers people, whatever they caught her in Texas. But I'm not saying everyone is that awful, but there's people here who are dangerous, so we don't know all their background, and are just kind of roaming about until they do something really, really terrible. Uh, but to some degree, they're protected in these sanctuary cities, and even if they're not doing things as bad as like killing people, there are people who are know they can act up, steal stuff, do whatever in cities like New York, and then they will go down to Florida, and then they will play, and then they'll have fun, but they won't act up because they'll know that they'll have to go to jail in Florida, and then they'll go back to New York and act a fool again. So I don't want my state to be like that, to get to that bad of a place. But it seems like folks want to encourage it if they really, really want to restore their electoral power. So, uh, so I just read a comment. Anyway, they said don't stop saying now you have it in my head. Now you got it in my head. But I believe that video that Elon showed does show the danger of what can happen very fast with a one party rule. And I don't know what we can maybe do right. Well, there are things that we can't. I don't think anyone's going to do mass deportation. There might be a lot of people who's deported, but I don't think that Trump is probably going to do 6 million people or something like that. Somebody asked me, do you think Trump will really make a difference if you get him in? If he just restored things like remain in Mexico, they went back to building the border wall, or at least let Texas and other folks protect their borders, it would make a difference, and it would pause things, certainly. But there's some legislative things that I hope people will be able to get through, um, as far as the sense, maybe how we count the votes, the bodies for the census, to stop this plot of the electoral votes. I think we should get rid of like birthright citizenship. That's a hard ask. So I don't think they can pull it off. I think Republicans should campaign on it, though. I think they should campaign on it. I think they should explain why we should do it. I think that if they do campaign on it, other people will be like, that actually is a good idea. And it will put pressure on, I think it'll put pressure on some Democrats, given the immense amount of people who've come across the border and continue to come across the border. So if you're going to pressure people into making that change, now is the time. Trump has expressed his desire to do it from an executive order standpoint, but that will be challenged. And I mean, if he could get it through executive order to stay for a while he's president, that does not mean that the next president will not simply reverse that executive order. That's a problem with doing so much by executive order, is that when the next person comes along, they will just reverse it. So Donald Trump, he's going to have to find a way to do more concrete things. So if he's back in office, I do think it's important that we have a pause on how crazy the influx of people coming in is. It will be good even to have that pause, but I do think we need something done long term, and I hope he's able to pull it off. I hope that we have majorities in both House and Senate, though our majority right now is so slim. And Trump seems to be doing very well in the polls, that maybe we will have a very good outcome, in Arizona and other places as well, and do very well in the Senate and the House. I don't know. But even if we have a majority, that doesn't mean that you're going to get Republicans on board to do the necessary things. So we need so much in order to reverse a lot of this damage here in the country. But I don't want to get you guys totally down, because as I said, even if you have a lot of people coming in, it's not the end of the world. People can change their minds and their voting habits and their voting patterns, especially if the left is very extreme. You still have a lot of people who are, I don't know, Catholic, for example, who are very conservative and will probably allow that to influence how they vote, especially if one side is crazy and the other side is still sharing their values, and you see the Hispanic vote more likely to give Republicans a chance. Now, why isn't the Black vote doing that? It's too long to explain. I can explain reasons why the majority of Black people voted Democrat, and I guess continue to do so. They're not. I can tell you the reasons. They're not great reasons. They're not like, why aren't people waking up fast enough to make the switch when things are so bad? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't feel that people should have to pander to make that happen, because it's not. Hispanics are making that turn without like the massive pandering. So what is it about the Black vote? I don't know. Well, we just got to keep trying. But the Hispanic vote, for example, shows that there is that the demographics isn't necessarily destiny, and it's not necessarily the end of the party. But if Democrats can get Biden reelected and make some radical changes, like even like the John Lewis Voting Act, I think it was. I don't know if it's called that. There was a voting act that they wanted to pass that some stuff in there wasn't even constitutional. But if they wanted to basically change a lot of things about election law on a federal level that should be done statewide, so it would probably face challenges in that sort of way. But if you federalize a lot about our elections, it makes it easier to rig, I guess you can say. And for an example of this, when Obama was president and Trump kept saying, oh, the elections are rigged, the elections are rigged, the election is rigged. And I think Trump at the time was thinking of it's rigged because of how he was treated in the media and other stuff like that. I don't think he thought that people were stuffing ballots or something along those lines. That's kind of what it seemed like. He was just being really, really treated unfairly. And so that's how I interpreted Trump complaining about things being rigged and the election being unfair. But this is prior to 2016 and him actually winning. So Obama was laughing at the idea of, he was asked about Trump saying it's rigged. He's like, and the reporter's like, can you promise that there's going to be a fair election? He's like, what does that even mean? So what does that even mean? I don't run the elections. Like the federal, we're not running the elections. That's done locally. So it's not up to me. And he's like, so if Trump is suggesting that in Texas, they're rigging the election against him, and these Republican states are rigging the election against him, he just thought that was so laughable. So it's funny to me that after Obama got out of office, Democrats started concocting a plan to pass some legislation that would drive some more responsibility for the elections on a federal level. So I'm like, if they know that this makes elections less secure, why are they trying to do that? It's a good thing that there's so much diversity within our election system. Now, there's some things that should be universal, like showing ID when you go and vote. That should be universal, certainly. Certainly. But some of the other things they suggested, I'm like, this is going to make things less secure. So they must know that, right? Because they're not dumb. Some of them are dumb, but I don't think they're that dumb. So are you trying to, I don't know, rig the game in a way? Perhaps. So if they can make a lot of big changes that they want to make that fundamentally changes our nation, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. So if Biden, I think Biden, the fact that the border is such a controversial issue for him, left, right, moderate, Democrat, independent, etc., it's bad for Biden. It's bad for Biden. People think Republicans are better on the border. Trump was definitely better on the border. Biden is underwater. His approval ratings are crap. His unfavorables, I think, are lower than or are higher than Trump. Trump is ahead in the polls, and it's looking like he's going to lose. It's looking like Biden is going to lose. And instead of moderating and acting like a normal person who has a plan, they'll still point the finger and say, oh, these Republicans, they, at the behest of Trump, they won't sign this bill that we want to push. But everyone knows that he has the power to enforce the laws now, but he doesn't want to. So some people have bought it because they're, for whatever reason, but I think most people know that the buck stops with Biden and stuff's not getting done. So instead of acting like he has any sense, they still want the problem to continue and continue and continue. And the only reason I think to do that is because they know in the long term it will help them. Because why risk your whole entire election on this? Why? Because if you just flood in enough people at the end of the day, it will get to a point where it was worth it. Democrats are willing to bite the bullet more than Republicans are many times. Obamacare, they knew if they could pass that would fundamentally change and put so many things, which permanently change a lot of things about our system. And they were willing to do it, even though next election, some people lost some seats, they lost some power, so on. Obama got hit with that lie of the year of you can keep your doctor if you want your doctor. That was a lie. It was worth lying to the American people because they wanted it done, because they knew it wasn't going to be undone. So it was worth the hits that they took because they could transform America. So I think it's worth to Biden to continue to let people flood the border because it's going to transform the country in a way that will be beneficial to the Democrat Party in the long term. Anyway, let's move on because I talked about that for an obvious long time. I want to show you guys this video of this squatter situation going on in New York, and it ended crazily, man. So it was worth watching because it was kind of so unbelievable. But if you live in New York, I guess you know how absurd of a system it is.
Who are these people? Yeah, but they're in my house, man. Relax. No.
To understand how this day ended,
we need the police right away.
with multiple 911 calls and arrests, we have to start at the beginning.
Adele, the hardest question is, how do you say your name?
We met Adele Andaloro outside the home her parents left her in Flushing, Queens. She's in the process of selling it.
No, he loved it.
But she's been locked out. She claims squatters moved in on February 6th and refused to leave.
What's it like being here knowing you can't go inside of your own home?
It's enraging. It really is.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days.
By the time that someone does their investigation and they do their work and their job, we'll be well over the 30 days, and this man will have stolen my home. And now she's back.
Just after wrapping up our interview, a woman showed up.
What are you doing in the house? Are you renting this house? Why are you here?
She unlocked the front door, saw our cameras, and took off.
It's open. Let's go in the house. It's open.
Adele and her daughter, with the property deed in hand, went inside.
This is my furniture. These are my curtains.
She didn't just find her belongings inside.
There's a man sleeping right there. Get out of my house.
She found 2 men.
How long have you lived here?
I moved in about 2 days ago.
They've called the police on me, and I've called the locksmiths. I didn't come in illegally. The door was open.
Police started interviewing neighbors and looking for documents.
Do you have something that shows that you've been here for more than 30 days?
They took the man who told me he had been renting for 2 days out in handcuffs
They got one out.
and escorted the other guy off the property.
Now you're afraid to come out.
I'm not coming out. This house is empty. This is my home. My locksmith is on the corner waiting to change my locks. And that's not fair. It's not fair that I, as the homeowner, should be having to go through this.
How you doing?
Minutes later, a locksmith showed up, but police gave her a warning before they left.
I may end up in handcuffs today if this man shows up here and says that I have illegally evicted him. I said to them, let him take me to court the way I've been told to take him to court. But today, I'm not leaving my house.
Less than 10 minutes after police left and the locks were changed, the man who claims to be the one actually leasing the house shows up.
Call the police again.
With the other guy, police took off the property.
Do you see this? This guy just literally broke down my door, broke through myself and my daughter to get in here. This guy just forced himself into my house. No, he did not. Yes, he did. No, he did. And so did you. You broke through the front door.
Officer.
The man called the police on her.
So why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. You need to go to court.
They consider this a landlord-tenant issue. And by law, it has to be handled through the housing court, not with police.
If you own this house, you would not want her inside.
I don't own this.
Exactly,
Yes,
she does.
Yes, but then once again, you should know how the law works.
I do know how it works.
There's rules to the as you got to go to court and send me to civil court.
He says he signed a lease in October, but wouldn't tell us with who.
I got proof longer than that.
Show us the proof.
But who are you for me to show? I showed it to cops.
Dan with Channel 7 News. If you don't want to show it, you don't want to show it.
Proof. Come here, brother. I like that.
I would like to see it.
He didn't show me a lease.
This is a bill.
A bill for work he says he had done to the house. He didn't show police a lease either.
The police department doesn't have the lease?
No.
He's got no documentation.
Just bills.
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
Being arrested
For what?
for being in my own home.
And where's your lease?
She's fighting the house. It's not her house anymore.
My deed
That's
is
what he was
current
told
and
already.
legal.
Arrested for unlawful eviction. She changed the locks on a man who claims he lives there.
So how does this all end then? When do you leave?
The way it ends is either she pays me my money that I put into the house, pay me the money, and I'll leave, or send me to court, and we deal with the judge in court. It's that simple.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know what much to say. And it's amazing that you can buy a place, your deed and everything is up to date. Someone moves in and then they arrest you. And they can, if they're there for 30 days, they can be there. And by the time you take someone to court and file all the stuff and get a date or whatever, the 30 days could already be up. And the audacity of this man, like, pay me and I'll go. You're in her house and you got her arrested in handcuffs and stuff. Isn't it? Don't you? I don't know what kind of work he had done to the house, but if you do like major work, don't you even need permits to do things? I wonder what he even had done that he invested in the house so much that he just would not leave. This is New York, man. And I wouldn't want to be there. I would not want to be there. I haven't been in New York in some years. It's been I don't know, maybe about, has it been like 7 years or something like that? Maybe 5 years. I haven't been. Last time I went to New York, I went to BookCon. And it's BookCon, and there's another big there's a big book conference for like distributors and other people. I can't remember the name of it, but that was like the whole week, and then it went into BookCon for like a day or two. And I got a table in New York, and I went with my sister, and it was so expensive to stay in New York that we just stayed in New Jersey, and then we would take the train into New York every day. And the last day, we parked the car in a garage, and it was at the Javits Center that's in New York. And so when we arrived on the day, and I think most people like shipped their stuff into the convention hall, and they dropped the different materials off at on pallets and stuff when you set up your booth. We didn't want to come on the day before because we're trying to save up all our money as much as we could. So we arrived on the day of setup, and you couldn't just like really bring your, when you went to go to Chicago for like C2E2 or stuff, you can like pull your stuff into the building, but we were kind of limited in what we could do. So we it was a struggle just carrying like thing by thing all the way up to the convention center. And it was a rough, long day, and everything was just so expensive. And there's all these kind of different rules because they had unions. And it's just always a lot with New York, and similar things went on with like Detroit and Cobalt Hall. I think they've changed a lot of stuff maybe with New York, Detroit. Actually, I don't know. But stuff with the unions are just crazy. And New York is a complicated place. But I don't know. We had a good week, I guess. But that was the last time I've been to New York. I haven't had reason to go. But again, between, I wouldn't want to do business there looking at the stuff that's going on with Trump. And I wouldn't want to live there looking at the stuff that's going on with the squatters. I know squatters have rights all over the place, but that was a crazy story, and I feel bad for that woman. But between that and crime and them not really arresting and keeping criminals in jail, and like the Daniel Penny situation where you have a good Samaritan who ends up, on trial for his life. It just doesn't seem like a great place to be, and it's supposed to be like the greatest city on earth. Someone said that poor woman. Yeah, that poor woman. That poor woman coming and changing the locks on her doors, being arrested. I just can't understand the audacity of these people who would do that. That man having the audacity, knowing it's not his place, and saying, well, you just got to take me to court and get me out anyway. I couldn't understand doing that to someone. It's just beyond my comprehension. And same way with people who go out and commit major theft with stuff, like all these people stealing stuff in California because they have to hit like a certain limit before it's more than a misdemeanor or something. So they're taking all these clothes out from all these boutiques and stuff, and they do like these flash mob theft things going on. I just can't imagine doing that kind of stuff, or maybe getting caught, or just embarrassing my family like that, and making people believe that I wasn't raised right, that my parents didn't raise me right, and that I didn't have good morals or good home training or anything like that. But I guess I just think different. I mean, besides the fact that it's wrong, just the shame bringing that to your family and your community. There's one boutique in California, a major boutique. It's a notorious boutique. They started taking pictures of people who are stealing stuff because the authorities won't do anything. So they'll take the photos and they'll put them on Instagram. And they're like, do you know this person? And so they've actually had people who will come bring the clothes back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was high when I did that, or whatever. So it's nice that people are bringing stuff back, but people do need to be arrested for theft. And if they just really start arresting people, people would stop. People would stop. But now they're at the point, not just people stealing clothes, people breaking into cars. People are saying just leave your key fobs in cars. Some people leave their doors open, their trunks open, and their windows down so people don't break into the cars, or they can see that there's nothing to steal. We shouldn't have to live like that. We should not have to live like that. The reason why we live in a limited government is because we limit certain freedoms for ourselves because we trust that the authorities are going to be able to protect our liberties when someone decides to trespass against us in some kind of way. So if someone is stealing from us, we don't have the absolute freedom to go vigilante justice on them, but we're trusting that the civil authority will resolve the matter. But we can't have that kind of trust anymore. We shouldn't have to live like this. I'm glad I don't live in California. I'm glad I don't live in New York. Unfortunately, I live in Michigan where it's Democrat rule right now, so I don't know how much they're going to mess up the state. Could always get to that bad of a point, but hopefully we'll have a turnaround. Hopefully. It's looking like Trump is pulling ahead in Michigan in regard to Biden, but people still like Gretchen Whitmer. I don't get it, but she's not going to be up for re-election. I don't know what's going to happen in our next gubernatorial race. I know they're about some interested parties, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Anyway, someone said that the place will probably be trashed by the time the court case comes. Maybe, but who knows how that will go for that woman. New York is so crazy. New York is so crazy. Thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate because it does cost a streaming on my website. All that good stuff so you guys can support. I appreciate you. Go check out my different merch, like a black tea mug. I got the My Money by Business shirt. I got the You Are Not That Special mugs. I do also have those in t-shirts, so go ahead and trigger someone in your life. Also got different books that you guys can check out. If you search my name on Amazon, you'll be able to find my stuff. I have 17 books that are actually published. 2 are nonfiction. The rest are fiction. So go ahead and check it out. I mentioned that I saw the American Society of Magical Negroes. Nerdrotic had there was a funny part of his review of it, and he mentioned if slaves could have superpowers or magic powers, he's like, why wouldn't they just use it to escape? I'm like, oh, well, that's a good point. Kind of a good point, because that's not really like the premise of what they decided that they needed to do for society. But I made me think of like, because they can teleport. That's one of the things they can do. I actually do have a book about a Negro. It takes place in the Civil War era. And so she's not magic, but she does have powers and she can teleport and she does use it to escape. Spoiler alert. But yeah, that book is one of my many books that's available. So you guys can check that out. It's a really good story. If I do say so myself. Anyway, thank you guys. And I'll have that review up. I'll try to have it up by tomorrow of the movie, because I do have to cut it, and the review was kind of long when I was filming it, so it's going to take me a minute to cut it. But interesting dialogue, at least from the film. It's funny that everybody hates it, that the right thinks it's too woke and the left thinks it's not woke enough. So eager to let you guys know my thoughts. God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.